Another nanny quit this morning, and I don't care why. Charles Whitman's voice echoed across the marble-floored hallway, sharp, controlled, yet heavy with tension that made the air almost vibrate. Toys were scattered across the plush carpet of the twins' playroom, the bright afternoon sunlight streaming through tall windows reflecting on golden frames and polished hardwood. Yet nothing could soften the weight of authority pressing down on the room. Imani Brooks paused at the doorway, her shoulders squared, the faint scent of lavender from her coat brushing the edges of the space. She didn't flinch at Charles's gaze, the piercing clarity of her eyes scanning every detail. Lucas, Mason, their tiny hands gripping a stuffed bear, the rhythm of their breaths uneven, the rise and fall of their small chests like a storm held within calm. She stepped forward, each movement deliberate, almost like a whisper slicing through the tension. The carpet's fibers shifted under her soft-soled shoes, the sunlight catching strands of her hair as if highlighting a halo of calm against the chaos. Charles folded his arms, the cuffs of his crisp white shirt pressing against the curve of his wrists, a subtle tremor in the control he usually wielded like armor. "You think anyone can stay in this house with them?" he demanded, a rhetorical question hanging like ice in the air. Imani's lips curved in a small, controlled smile. "I don't think, sir. I know." Her voice, calm yet commanding, seemed to ripple across the room. The twins paused mid-play, their eyes lifting to her without fully understanding, trust instinctively blooming in tiny, cautious pulses. Charles leaned against the doorway, the polished surface of the frame cool under his fingertips, his jaw tightening, and yet a flicker of curiosity ignited behind his stern eyes. Imani crouched, keeping her posture straight but unthreatening, hands open, palms visible, tracing gentle arcs in the air that mirrored the twins' scattered breaths. The room, previously heavy with expectation and authority, softened almost imperceptibly. Even the chandelier overhead seemed to hold its breath, as if acknowledging a shift too subtle for most to see, but not for those who watch closely. She murmured a single instruction, carefully paced, precise: "Follow my rhythm. Watch me. Take a breath with me." The twins blinked, a soft inhale, and then another, eyes wide yet beginning to mirror the calm in her tone. Charles's frown lingered, a crease between silvered brows, but the tension in his shoulders eased slightly. He stepped closer, hesitance marking his measured stride, the polished floors echoing the uncertainty of someone unused to being unsure, and yet compelled to witness what he had dismissed countless times before. Sunlight glinted on the brass handles of the toy chest as Imani's fingers skimmed its edge, grounding the space in familiar textures while her presence radiated control without aggression. "You see, Lucas, Mason," she said quietly, guiding their hands to meet hers. "We can take a breath together. We can try it again." The twins hesitated, and then with small nods, they matched her movements, mirroring patience in miniature. Charles's lips parted slightly, disbelief mingling with cautious admiration. The authority he had always equated with obedience now seemed hollow, fragile against the steady insistence of understanding, a truth he hadn't recognized until now. Imani's gaze lifted to meet his, steady, unwavering, and in that heartbeat, the imbalance of power in the room shifted, not through force, not through wealth, but through perception, care, and the quiet insistence of knowing exactly what needed to be done. A soft chime from the wall clock marked the passing second, yet in the room, time itself seemed to bend around the rhythm she had set. Charles exhaled slowly, the weight of countless past failures pressing at the edges of his awareness, and for the first time, he considered what it meant to truly see rather than command. The twins, guided by Imani's patient hands, took a tentative step toward calm, laughter bubbling up like a spring thaw in a world that had been frozen too long, and Charles remained in the doorway, caught between authority and awe, unsure if he should intervene or simply allow the lesson to unfold, his breath matching the new rhythm of the room, each inhale a reminder that understanding could wield more power than wealth, status, or fear, and that perhaps this day, the impossible had only just begun. The afternoon sun had shifted slightly, casting long, golden beams across the polished floors as Imani Brooks guided Lucas and Mason toward the reading corner, a soft rug spread neatly beneath a set of colorful cushions. Each step she took was measured, deliberate, the faint rustle of her coat blending with the quiet hum of the mansion, the subtle click of the twins' sneakers. As they adjusted to a new rhythm, Charles Whitman lingered near the doorway, the crisp lines of his tailored suit rigid against the sunlight, fingers loosely clasped in front of him, his expression a mixture of cautious admiration and disbelief. Imani reached for a storybook from the low shelf, the pages whispering as she opened it, her voice low, rhythmic, reading each sentence with careful emphasis, her words guiding the twins' attention, gently capturing their curiosity. Lucas leaned slightly forward, eyes wide, absorbing the cadence, while Mason mimicked the inflection of her tone, their previous agitation replaced by quiet engagement. The light from the tall windows glinted off the polished edges of the furniture, illuminating the twins' small hands reaching toward the pictures, their smiles tentative yet genuine, tentative sparks of trust forming in the vastness of the room. Charles shifted his weight, the quiet padding of his shoes on the hardwood floor contrasting with the earlier tension, his eyes tracing the calm precision with which Imani orchestrated the space, realizing that every gesture, every subtle movement, had been carefully designed to create harmony. Imani closed the book and guided the twins through a series of gentle stretching exercises, small movements synchronized with breathing, encouraging them to observe their bodies and the space around them, fostering awareness and control. The twins responded slowly at first, hesitant, then more fluidly as the unfamiliar routine unfolded with predictable consistency, their laughter a light, melodic counterpoint to the soft ticking of a grandfather clock in the corner. Charles, still standing near the doorway, felt the tightness in his chest ease slightly, a rare sensation of surrender to observation rather than command. Imani's eyes flicked up toward him briefly, acknowledging his presence without breaking the flow, a silent invitation to witness rather than interfere. She then returned to the twins, leading them through a gentle game of matching colors and shapes, each successful attempt met with subtle encouragement, their confidence building incrementally under her quiet guidance. Outside, a soft breeze drifted in through partially opened windows, carrying the faint scent of jasmine from the garden below, the natural aroma mingling with the warmth of sunlight to create a serene atmosphere, an invisible current of calm threading through the room. Charles shifted again, leaning lightly against the frame of the doorway, observing how the twins' eyes sparkled with engagement, how their hands moved with purpose, how their laughter harmonized with the rhythm she had set, and he felt a quiet realization settling over him that authority was not imposed by tone or wealth, but earned through patience, understanding, and thoughtful action. Imani's movements were seamless, almost choreographed, as she transitioned the twins to a puzzle on the floor, guiding their fingers to fit pieces together, celebrating small victories, and reinforcing focus through gentle praise, her voice steady, reassuring, and unwavering. The twins leaned closer to each other, exchanging delighted glances, the tension that had clung to them earlier dissipating in the safety of her presence, each moment a small triumph of trust and attention. Charles exhaled, long and deliberate, the rigid control he had relied upon for years melting away in the face of this subtle, quiet mastery, and for the first time, he allowed himself to simply observe, to watch the unfolding patience and empathy without interference, feeling the room breathe around him. Imani shifted her attention to encouraging the twins to articulate their thoughts about the puzzle, prompting sentences and questions that fostered engagement and language skills, reinforcing their sense of accomplishment and participation, her demeanor calm, yet commanding, drawing on a deep well of confidence and experience. Charles's gaze followed every interaction, every nuanced exchange, the twins' soft giggles punctuating the space, and he recognized the remarkable transformation occurring not through instruction from him, but through the intentional, composed guidance of someone who understood how to reach them. As the session progressed, the twins' energy settled into a playful, productive pattern, their earlier restlessness dissolved into a cooperative rhythm, and Charles, standing in the warmth of afternoon light, felt an unfamiliar but welcome sense of humility, a recognition that leadership could manifest through quiet competence, empathy, and the ability to meet others where they were. The room was still alive with the gentle sounds of learning, laughter, and connection, the polished surfaces reflecting the soft gold of late afternoon, and Imani's eyes, calm and observant, flicked once more toward Charles, silently conveying that this harmony had been carefully nurtured, that authority could be shared, and that trust had been earned, leaving him with the unmistakable impression that the impossible had only just begun and that what he had witnessed was the first chapter of a transformation that would continue far beyond this room. The late afternoon light had deepened into a warm amber, spilling through the towering windows of the mansion and casting long, soft shadows across the polished floors. Imani Brooks guided Lucas and Mason to a small table near the bay window, where sunlight pooled over wooden blocks and art supplies neatly arranged in baskets. The twins' fingers hovered over crayons, hesitant at first, before beginning to draw under her patient observation, their small movements tentative but deliberate. Imani crouched beside them, voice calm and rhythmic, narrating a story of shapes and colors that invited them to engage not only with the materials, but with each other. Charles Whitman stood a few feet away, hands resting lightly on the edge of a mahogany desk, his eyes tracing the steady flow of her instructions. Each one met with increasing attentiveness from the twins. The room, once tense and rigid, now carried a gentle rhythm, the soft scratching of crayons over paper punctuating the stillness, interwoven with the twins' quiet laughter as they discovered new combinations of colors. Imani's guidance was subtle yet firm, teaching the children to share space, to express ideas, and to celebrate each small accomplishment with a nod or a soft word of encouragement. Charles's posture shifted imperceptibly, the lines of worry on his face softening as he absorbed the scene, recognizing that this method of patient attention was far more effective than any rigid command he had previously attempted. The golden glow of the sun highlighted Imani's calm expression, her eyes attentive, capturing both the children's reactions and the nuances of the environment, adjusting her approach minutely to maintain engagement. Lucas and Mason, now fully immersed, exchanged smiles and quiet comments, their earlier tension dissipating as they followed her example, learning not only to cooperate, but to anticipate and respond with thoughtfulness. Charles's hands tightened briefly around the edge of the desk, a mixture of awe and realization in his gaze, and he allowed himself a rare, deep exhale, acknowledging the power of understanding and empathy over authority and control. Imani shifted the activity to a puzzle, guiding their hands to fit pieces together, offering hints without taking over, letting them arrive at solutions independently while celebrating their successes softly. The twins' eyes shone with pride. Each connection made a quiet victory that resonated through the space, reinforcing trust and building confidence. Charles stepped a little closer, his presence silent but attentive, noticing how the room's energy had transformed from chaos to focus, how small gestures and measured words could orchestrate harmony in a previously unsettled environment. Imani paused to observe, her gaze sweeping over the twins and then meeting Charles's eyes briefly, silently communicating that patience, consistency, and thoughtful intervention were the true instruments of guidance. She continued the session, encouraging verbal expression, prompting the twins to describe their work, fostering both language and analytical skills while maintaining a calm, structured environment. Each word and movement was intentional, a blend of instruction and reassurance that held the children's attention without the need for force. Charles, observing quietly, felt a shift in his understanding of influence and leadership, the kind that comes from engagement rather than imposition. The room vibrated with soft energy, a mix of concentration, laughter, and the subtle hum of learning. The sunlight catching the edges of the blocks, crayons, and puzzle pieces, creating a scene of quiet order and discovery. Imani's presence anchored the environment, her steady guidance allowing the twins to explore, create, and connect while Charles witnessed a transformation that went beyond behavior, touching on comprehension, trust, and mutual respect. As the afternoon wore on, the golden light deepened, highlighting the serene focus of the twins, the precision of Imani's instruction, and the introspective posture of Charles, who now understood that the harmony in the room was not the result of control, but of listening, guiding, and patiently allowing understanding to take root. Each small achievement by Lucas and Mason resonated in the space, a testament to the power of calm authority and thoughtful engagement, leaving Charles with a profound recognition that this approach, modeled by Imani's quiet expertise, had the potential to reshape not only the dynamics of the household, but also his perspective on leadership, patience, and the subtle, transformative influence of empathy. The golden light shifted toward the west, slanting through the tall windows and illuminating the fine grains of the hardwood floor, casting soft reflections that danced around the edges of the room, where Lucas and Mason were now carefully stacking colorful blocks under Imani Brooks' watchful guidance. Her hands moved gracefully over the toys, adjusting them subtly, guiding the twins' attention without interrupting their natural curiosity, her voice steady, calm, and precise as she explained how to match colors and shapes, demonstrating patience and focus that drew their full attention. Charles Whitman remained a quiet observer, leaning against the corner of the room, his crisp suit catching the sun, the subtle crease in his forehead softening as he followed the interplay between Imani and the children, noticing how every small gesture and measured instruction produced calm and engagement instead of chaos. The twins, now absorbed in their task, exchanged small glances and whispered observations, their earlier restlessness replaced by a cooperative rhythm, a gentle laughter accompanying their movements, echoing softly through the room and mingling with the distant hum of the central air. Imani shifted her position slightly, kneeling to meet the twins' eye level, pointing to the next block in sequence and prompting them to think ahead, to anticipate what piece might fit next, her fingers tracing gentle arcs in the air as if painting possibilities, the movement mirrored in their hesitant but eager hands. Charles took a step closer, quietly, his eyes following each motion, absorbing the transformation of energy in the room from tension to harmony, recognizing that her quiet authority had replaced the need for strict control. Sunlight glinted off the edges of the blocks and the polished desk in the corner, highlighting the meticulous organization of the environment, reinforcing the subtle lessons in order, attention, and engagement that Imani had been teaching. She encouraged verbal communication between the twins, prompting questions and responses that were thoughtful and cooperative, fostering both language and cognitive skills, her voice even and clear, creating a rhythm that the children unconsciously mirrored. Charles could not help but notice how their small successes were celebrated softly, reinforcing confidence without the need for overreaction or praise that felt forced. Each achievement was its own reward, naturally building trust and understanding between them and Imani. The room felt lighter, warmer, almost breathable, each corner softened by sunlight, laughter, and focused attention, and Charles's posture reflected a growing humility, a recognition that influence and leadership could be expressed through empathy and subtle guidance rather than direct command. Imani continued transitioning the twins through a sequence of matching games, drawing exercises, and observational activities, each designed to challenge their perception, coordination, and problem-solving while keeping the environment calm and predictable, allowing the children to explore independently within gentle parameters. Lucas carefully picked up a puzzle piece, hesitated, and then smiled as Mason guided him to place it in the correct spot, their small victories acknowledged through Imani's quiet nods and encouraging tone. Charles exhaled slowly, letting the tension drain from his shoulders, noticing the shift in the room's dynamic as trust and cooperation replaced his previous concern and impatience, the light in the space reflecting a sense of accomplishment and possibility. Imani paused to observe, eyes sweeping over the twins and then briefly meeting Charles's, conveying silently that this transformation had been nurtured through patience, attentiveness, and understanding, reinforcing the idea that authority was as much about insight and connection as it was about title or position. She guided the twins toward a storytelling activity next, encouraging them to describe their pictures and creations in sequence, prompting narrative skills, imagination, and focus, the energy in the room harmonizing around her measured presence. The afternoon waned, sunlight softening to a honeyed glow, and the twins remained engaged, cooperative, and content, their previous anxiety replaced by curiosity and confidence. Charles stood quietly, absorbing the lessons unfolding before him, recognizing that Imani's calm authority and structured guidance had not only tamed chaos but fostered growth, connection, and learning, leaving him with a deep sense of respect for her skill, patience, and the quiet yet profound power of understanding, a realization that would linger long after the children's laughter had faded and the room fell silent. The golden light had softened into a gentle evening glow, filling the playroom with warmth that wrapped around every corner, reflecting off polished floors and the small wooden furniture carefully arranged for the twins' activities. Imani Brooks guided Lucas and Mason to a set of low tables where new art supplies awaited, crayons, colored pencils, and sketch pads laid out with meticulous care, inviting exploration without overwhelming choice. Her voice, calm yet commanding, carried the rhythm of instruction as she suggested themes and colors, encouraging the twins to express their thoughts visually, to explore patterns and shapes while maintaining a soft, steady pace that matched their developing focus. Charles Whitman remained quietly in the background, leaning lightly against the window frame, observing every gesture, every nuance of expression, and the subtle shifts in the twins' attention, his eyes tracing the seamless coordination between guidance and autonomy. The twins' movements were tentative at first, but under Imani's patient observation, their confidence grew with each deliberate stroke, laughter and soft murmurs of conversation beginning to punctuate the room, replacing the anxious energy that had been present earlier. Imani knelt beside them, hands visible and open, guiding their attention without overt control, offering gentle suggestions that prompted problem-solving, color coordination, and narrative thinking, her presence a consistent anchor of reassurance and authority. Charles noted how each small success sparked a tangible change in their demeanor, a softening of posture, a lift of the chin, a sparkle in the eye, and he could not help but recognize that this transformation was happening not because of his wealth or directives, but because of Imani's patient engagement and understanding of their needs. The room seemed to breathe along with her guidance, the soft scratching of crayons on paper, the occasional giggle, the hum of distant air conditioning, all forming a subtle rhythm that harmonized the environment. Imani shifted the twins' attention to collaborative exercises, encouraging them to build towers of blocks together, to describe their strategies aloud, to negotiate turns and problem-solve jointly, reinforcing social skills and communication while maintaining focus. Each interaction was met with quiet, positive reinforcement, her voice balancing encouragement with calm correction, her posture relaxed yet attentive, creating a secure environment in which the twins could thrive. Charles, still observing from his place near the window, felt the subtle power of influence shifting, a realization that authority derived from understanding, patience, and careful guidance rather than rigid control or strict instruction. Imani encouraged verbal expression of ideas, prompting the twins to articulate their reasoning and choices, guiding them through moments of uncertainty with subtle nods, gentle gestures, and soft-spoken prompts that built confidence incrementally. The afternoon shadows lengthened, the warm light now mingling with the coolness of the approaching evening. Yet the energy in the room remained steady, focused, productive, a testament to Imani's ability to orchestrate calm and engagement without tension. Charles exhaled slowly, the weight of previous frustrations easing as he witnessed the twins' enthusiasm, creativity, and cooperative spirit, and he acknowledged, silently, the quiet mastery that Imani exhibited, transforming the space from one of potential conflict into one of learning, joy, and connection. The twins now worked independently yet in harmony, referencing one another and Imani naturally, their voices soft, laughter sporadic but genuine, the room alive with subtle movement, creativity, and the gentle rhythm of productive play. Imani adjusted her approach minutely as she observed their responses, subtly guiding hands, demonstrating patience, allowing the children to take initiative while maintaining structure and attention, fostering a sense of accomplishment that radiated quietly but powerfully throughout the space. Charles stood rooted to the spot, absorbing the full effect of her method, realizing that the mastery of patience, empathy, and structured guidance could influence, shape, and transform even the most chaotic energy into cooperative focus and trust, leaving him with a profound understanding of the depth and impact of thoughtful, intentional engagement. The room remained alive with soft energy, sunlight fading to dusk. Yet the harmony established by Imani persisted, the twins' attention engaged, their smiles genuine, their bodies relaxed and cooperative, and Charles could not deny the lesson unfolding before him. That true influence and authority were earned through quiet competence, patience, and understanding, and that the effects of such guidance would ripple far beyond the walls of this room. A subtle but undeniable shift in perspective that lingered as the evening light dimmed. Evening had settled fully over the mansion, the last golden rays slipping through the tall windows and painting the room with deep amber and shadow. Imani Brooks led Lucas and Mason toward a small indoor garden corner, where low pots of herbs and flowers were arranged carefully on shelves, their leaves catching the fading light and giving off a faint, calming fragrance that mingled with the polished wood and the soft rug underfoot. The twins' eyes widened as they approached, curiosity sparking, their hands hovering over leaves and petals, tentative yet eager to explore under her watchful guidance. Imani knelt beside them, her movements deliberate and graceful, showing them how to gently touch the plants, to notice textures, shapes, and scents, guiding them with soft, precise instructions that invited observation rather than obedience. Charles Whitman lingered by the doorway, leaning against the cool surface of the frame, watching intently as the children shifted from playful chatter to focused engagement, their small hands exploring patterns and colors in the garden, following Imani's quiet prompts. Each breath seemed to align with hers, a rhythm established by her patient presence, a flow of calm that enveloped the space and allowed the twins to experience discovery without pressure. Imani encouraged the twins to name the plants, to describe their shapes and smells, and to notice the subtle differences between each leaf and petal, fostering attentiveness, vocabulary, and observation. The twins responded with increasing confidence, pointing out differences, asking questions, and mimicking her tone and pace as she narrated small stories about the garden, weaving imagination with fact, and Charles could not hide the shift in his awareness, a mixture of surprise, admiration, and reflection marking his posture. The indoor light softened further as the sun dipped, shadows lengthening, and the faint tick of a distant wall clock marking quiet time as Imani introduced a small watering activity, showing Lucas and Mason how to pour carefully into each pot, balancing precision with gentle flow. The twins watched closely, hands mimicking hers, laughter bubbling softly as they succeeded in small tasks, their pride evident in tentative smiles and glances toward each other. Charles took a step forward, the floor cool beneath polished shoes, his gaze lingering on the unfolding scene, noting how the energy in the room had transformed completely from tension and chaos to focused, harmonious engagement, all orchestrated by Imani's presence and expertise. She shifted her attention between the twins seamlessly, her hands moving naturally, pointing, adjusting gently, and offering soft verbal cues, ensuring that attention and effort remained constructive, that curiosity and discipline were balanced, and that each child experienced the satisfaction of learning through observation, participation, and thoughtful action. Charles's posture relaxed imperceptibly, shoulders easing, the rigidity of his authority melting as he witnessed the subtle transformation of both environment and children, understanding that influence could be achieved through empathy, careful attention, and structured guidance rather than command or control. Imani guided the twins into a cooperative task, combining watering, arranging, and naming plants, prompting them to plan and work together, share space and ideas, and celebrate each successful completion with soft affirmations, fostering collaboration and mutual respect. The twins' energy remained focused yet playful, a delicate balance that radiated through the room, their soft laughter, quiet conversation, and engaged attention creating a new rhythm that aligned with Imani's calm leadership. Charles observed each detail, the subtle smiles, the careful interactions, the way she maintained structure without pressure, noticing how much more effective this approach was than any directive he could have given, and he felt a quiet, unspoken respect growing, awareness settling deep in his posture, in his breath, in the way he allowed the moment to continue without interruption. The room itself seemed to breathe with them, the fading sunlight softening the edges of furniture and plants, the polished floors reflecting warm amber tones, and through it all, Imani moved among the twins with effortless authority, guiding, observing, and nurturing, each action intentional, each gesture reinforcing learning, cooperation, and engagement. The twins responded with curiosity, attentiveness, and joy, and Charles, standing quietly, realized the profound impact of her patient, thoughtful, and intuitive guidance, understanding for the first time that mastery over such a space came not from wealth, status, or command, but from calm observation, structured guidance, and the consistent, quiet power of empathy and insight, leaving him in a state of reflection as the evening deepened around them. The sun had fully set, leaving a soft twilight glow that filtered through the tall windows and painted the room in shades of deep blue and amber, shadows stretching across the polished floors and the corners where Lucas and Mason had arranged their finished projects. Imani Brooks guided the twins to the reading nook one last time. A set of cushions placed neatly around a low table, the pages of several storybooks spread invitingly across its surface, each one chosen to encourage imagination, reflection, and engagement. Her voice, calm yet resonant, carried a gentle rhythm as she read aloud, drawing the twins into the narrative while prompting them to predict outcomes, ask questions, and express their ideas, fostering critical thinking and curiosity. The twins leaned forward, their eyes bright, small hands occasionally pointing to illustrations as they interacted, their laughter soft and delighted, harmonizing with the subtle ticking of a grandfather clock in the corner. Charles Whitman stood quietly near the doorway, observing with a newfound awareness, his posture relaxed but attentive, noting the transformation from morning chaos to this serene, focused engagement. Imani moved among the children with fluid precision, her hands guiding lightly, suggesting without commanding, her presence a consistent anchor of reassurance and quiet authority. She encouraged the twins to relate the stories to their own experiences, asking them to identify emotions, make connections, and reflect on the characters' decisions, prompting empathy and self-awareness in a way that was both gentle and structured. Charles watched intently, noticing how each small success, each moment of insight or cooperative action by the twins, was met with subtle acknowledgement, a nod, a quiet word, reinforcing confidence and reinforcing trust without overbearing instruction. The room seemed to hum softly with the quiet energy of learning, focus, and mutual respect, the polished surfaces reflecting the fading light, and the twins' engagement radiating warmth through the space. Imani shifted the focus again, introducing a collaborative storytelling exercise, guiding the twins to create their own narrative using pictures, words, and gestures, prompting imagination, sequential thinking, and cooperative planning. The children responded with enthusiasm, tentative ideas transforming into confident expressions, smiles spreading naturally as they collaborated, their voices rising and falling in playful rhythm, the room alive with energy yet measured by Imani's steady presence. Charles, still observing, felt a rare stillness within himself, the tension and rigidity of control replaced by reflection, awe, and an emerging understanding of the impact of thoughtful guidance. He noticed how the twins now looked to each other for cues, how they anticipated responses, how engagement had replaced hesitation, and how Imani's calm authority created space for growth, curiosity, and confidence. She moved seamlessly from one activity to another, each transition smooth and deliberate, maintaining structure while allowing freedom, encouraging autonomy while nurturing focus, her hands guiding, her voice prompting, and her presence reassuring. The twins' laughter and conversation now interwove naturally with her guidance, a soft rhythm of attention and creativity that filled the room, each interaction a lesson in cooperation, patience, and thoughtful engagement. Charles took a step forward, his polished shoes quiet against the floor, his gaze fixed on the scene unfolding before him, a mixture of surprise, admiration, and respect reflected in his eyes. Imani paused briefly, observing the twins' collaboration, her eyes flicking to Charles with a subtle acknowledgement, a silent communication that trust, skill, and patience could transform not only behavior but perception, authority, and relationship. The twins now worked almost independently, still guided, still supported, but with growing confidence, their smiles broadening, their conversation flowing, and Charles felt the quiet power of understanding settle within him, the room alive with a harmony he had not anticipated. As the evening deepened and the room embraced a gentle twilight, Imani orchestrated the final activity, guiding Lucas and Mason to reflect on their day, encouraging them to express thoughts, emotions, and experiences in a calm, structured way that fostered self-awareness and connection. Charles remained in the background, silently absorbing the transformation, witnessing the impact of empathy, patience, and intuitive guidance, recognizing that true influence was built on understanding and connection, leaving the room with a sense of warmth, respect, and quiet accomplishment that lingered long after the activity concluded. The twilight deepened, the soft glow of the last sunlight retreating and leaving the room bathed in the gentle illumination of the indoor lamps, casting warm reflections across the polished floors and the edges of the tables where Lucas and Mason had left their finished projects. Imani Brooks guided the twins to the art corner once more, laying out clean sketch pads and a fresh set of colored pencils, her movements deliberate and fluid, eyes scanning each detail of the space to ensure it remained inviting and structured. Her voice carried softly but clearly, weaving a calm narrative as she encouraged the twins to express themselves creatively, drawing scenes from their day, imagining stories, and exploring colors, shapes, and textures with intention and care. Charles Whitman remained near the doorway, hands loosely clasped, observing every nuance of interaction, the subtle rise and fall of their voices, the tentative gestures that became more confident with each passing moment. The twins leaned into the activity, eyes bright, hands moving with increasing precision, their engagement growing as Imani prompted discussion about their choices, what inspired them, and how the colors reflected emotions, fostering thoughtfulness, communication, and self-expression. Imani shifted seamlessly between guiding them, asking open-ended questions, and stepping back to allow independent decision-making, ensuring that the children felt autonomy while remaining supported, her calm authority anchoring the room. Charles noticed the transformation not only in the twins' focus, but also in the energy of the space, how the earlier tension had dissolved into attentive, curious engagement, how laughter and soft conversation now punctuated the room, blending harmoniously with the quiet hum of the mansion around them. The twins began to collaborate more naturally, offering ideas to one another, negotiating which colors to use, and sharing their insights, their small smiles and occasional laughter punctuating the soft rhythm of the evening. Imani guided them through a series of prompts that encouraged sequencing, narrative building, and reflective thinking, her voice steady and deliberate, her hands occasionally gesturing to demonstrate concepts without taking control, fostering both cognitive skills and confidence. Charles took a step closer, the polished floor cool beneath his shoes, his eyes fixed on the twins' engagement and Imani's subtle guidance, feeling an unexpected calm and admiration for the skill and patience displayed before him. The room seemed to breathe with the activity, the soft sound of pencils against paper, the occasional giggle, and the quiet rustle of pages forming a rhythm that underscored focus and harmony. Imani encouraged the twins to explain their drawings to each other, prompting verbalization, comprehension, and storytelling, nurturing social skills and reinforcing the sense of accomplishment they were beginning to feel. Charles's posture reflected a growing understanding of influence through presence and guidance rather than command, the lines of his jaw softening, the weight of control easing as he witnessed patience and empathy orchestrate harmony. Imani's movements were precise, measured, yet fluid, maintaining the flow of engagement, ensuring the twins were challenged without feeling pressured, balancing instruction and autonomy in a seamless pattern. The twins responded to her subtle cues, adjusting their actions and thoughts to match the guidance, their focus deepening, creativity blossoming, and mutual respect strengthening between them. Charles exhaled slowly, the soft ambient light highlighting his thoughtful expression as he recognized the transformation, understanding that mastery of attention, learning, and interaction came from structured care, empathy, and consistent presence. Imani transitioned to a reflective activity, asking the twins to share what they enjoyed most and what they learned, prompting insight, self-expression, and connection while reinforcing a sense of achievement and agency. Lucas and Mason spoke with increasing confidence, their voices interweaving with laughter and curiosity, each response drawing quiet acknowledgement and encouragement from Imani, reinforcing their trust and engagement. The room maintained a calm energy, alive with learning, imagination, and cooperation, the polished surfaces reflecting warm light and the soft hum of activity. Charles remained in the background, quietly absorbing the method, the attention to detail, and the subtle shifts in behavior and emotion, realizing that authority, guidance, and influence could manifest through patience, understanding, and careful attention, leaving the space transformed in atmosphere, energy, and perception, a testament to the quiet but profound power of thoughtful engagement and empathy. The room had settled into a tranquil rhythm, the deep blue of evening blending with the warm glow of the lamps, casting long, gentle shadows that stretched across the polished floors and the scattered art supplies and blocks from earlier activities. Imani Brooks guided Lucas and Mason toward a soft carpet near the bay window, encouraging them to sit and reflect on their day, her voice calm and deliberate, weaving questions into their discussion to help them articulate what they had learned, observed, and enjoyed, fostering introspection and verbal expression. The twins leaned in, their eyes bright with curiosity, hands fidgeting slightly with small objects they had collected during previous activities, their attention fully captured by her measured tone and thoughtful prompts. Charles Whitman observed quietly, the crease between his brows softening, his body leaning lightly against the polished window frame as he absorbed the unfolding dialogue, noting how each subtle question from Imani drew thoughtful responses, small insights, and confident expressions from the children. Imani encouraged the twins to consider cause and effect, asking them to describe what happened when they followed certain instructions, how their cooperation had changed outcomes, and how their focus and attention shaped the environment around them. The twins responded with excitement, their voices rising and falling in harmony with the conversation, smiles appearing naturally as they realized the impact of their actions, their small successes acknowledged with gentle affirmation from Imani. Charles's posture shifted, an imperceptible softening in his shoulders, as he recognized the transformative effect of patience, observation, and structured guidance, the room alive not with noise, but with engaged, meaningful energy. Imani guided the twins into a final cooperative exercise, arranging the remaining blocks and art supplies into a creative display, prompting teamwork, planning, and reflection while allowing them autonomy to make decisions and negotiate solutions. The children interacted smoothly, their confidence evident in the way they adjusted, collaborated, and celebrated minor achievements, laughter and quiet discussion mingling naturally, the energy steady yet lively, orchestrated by Imani's steady presence. Charles noticed the difference from the morning, the earlier tension replaced by focus, curiosity, and mutual respect, a testament to the subtle authority of empathy, understanding, and intentional guidance rather than command. Imani moved seamlessly between observing, prompting, and encouraging, her hands occasionally gesturing to suggest ideas, her eyes meeting Charles's once briefly, communicating without words that authority could be exercised through influence, patience, and insight. Lucas and Mason followed her example, negotiating roles, discussing ideas, and expressing themselves creatively, their engagement full and confident, the space filled with a calm vibrancy that contrasted sharply with the early chaos. Charles exhaled slowly, the polished floor beneath his shoes reflecting the fading light, his mind tracing the evolution of the room from tension to harmony, from scattered attention to focused collaboration, and he felt an unexpected sense of respect for the method, the structure, and the quiet command of presence that Imani displayed. Imani introduced a short reflection, asking the twins to share one thing they had enjoyed most, one thing they had learned, and one idea they wanted to try next, prompting language skills, introspection, and connection, all while maintaining a calm, structured environment. The twins' responses were thoughtful and articulate, their small hands occasionally pointing to drawings or blocks, laughter punctuating their insights as they celebrated each other's contributions under Imani's gentle guidance. The room vibrated softly with the rhythm of their voices, movement, and attention, Charles's gaze following each interaction, realizing how subtly yet profoundly the environment had changed, how engagement replaced command, how focus replaced chaos. Imani concluded the session with a final round of quiet praise, reinforcing their accomplishments and growth, her voice calm and steady, the twins' smiles reflecting pride, trust, and satisfaction. Charles remained in the doorway, observing the interplay, recognizing the quiet mastery of guidance, the effectiveness of empathy and structured attention, and the way patience and understanding had transformed both the children and the atmosphere of the room. The soft glow of the lamps, the organized spaces, and the calm, productive energy of Lucas, Mason, and Imani created a sense of closure, a moment of balance, and a lingering impression of transformation that would extend beyond the immediate activities, leaving Charles with an unmistakable awareness of the quiet, powerful effect of intentional, empathetic guidance in shaping engagement, trust, and cooperation. The evening deepened further, shadows lengthening across the polished floors and the soft glow of the lamps giving a warm, golden hue to the twins' playroom. Imani Brooks guided Lucas and Mason to a corner set aside for quiet reflection, soft cushions and a low table awaiting their attention, the surface strewn with simple puzzles and story prompts that encouraged thought, discussion, and imagination. Her voice carried steadily, gently prompting the twins to describe their favorite moments from the day, to explain their choices in colors, shapes, and arrangements, fostering reasoning, reflection, and verbal skills. The twins leaned in, eager to share their thoughts, their small hands resting lightly on the table as they gestured to the creations they had made, pointing out details with excitement and curiosity. Charles Whitman stood near the doorway, observing quietly, his posture relaxed yet attentive, noticing the subtle shifts in body language, the sparkle in the children's eyes, the way their confidence had grown from tentative participation to fully engaged interaction. Imani encouraged them to link their reflections to lessons in cooperation, attention, and patience, asking open-ended questions that invited analysis and conversation while maintaining a calm, structured rhythm. The twins responded thoughtfully, their voices rising and falling with natural inflection, smiles spreading across their faces as they realized the value of their own contributions and the trust placed in them by Imani. Charles felt a subtle shift within himself, the rigid control he had relied upon throughout the day softening, replaced by appreciation and admiration for the methodical, empathetic guidance that had transformed the energy of the room. Imani transitioned the activity to a collaborative storytelling exercise, prompting Lucas and Mason to create a narrative using blocks, drawings, and verbal explanation, encouraging cooperation, sequencing, and shared decision-making. The twins responded enthusiastically, negotiating roles, offering suggestions, and celebrating successes in small, confident gestures, laughter and conversation punctuating the room in a measured, harmonious rhythm. Imani moved smoothly between observation and gentle guidance, her hands occasionally demonstrating, her voice prompting, her presence creating an anchor of calm authority that the twins naturally responded to, their focus deepening with each passing moment. Charles watched every interaction, the soft scrape of pencils, the quiet murmur of discussion, and the subtle adjustments of small hands in response to Imani's cues forming a symphony of engagement and learning. The energy of the room transformed from chaos into structured creativity. He recognized, perhaps for the first time, the profound effect of empathy, patience, and deliberate guidance, understanding that influence was built through connection and awareness rather than command or instruction. Imani encouraged verbal reflection alongside creative expression, prompting the twins to discuss emotions, choices, and outcomes within the exercises, fostering both cognitive and emotional growth. The twins' interactions became more fluid, responsive, and confident, their laughter interweaving with quiet moments of focus, each success quietly acknowledged by Imani, reinforcing trust, engagement, and self-assurance. The room hummed softly with the rhythm of attentive focus, the low lamp light reflecting on polished floors, art supplies, and wooden blocks, creating a serene and harmonious environment. Charles's gaze lingered on the scene, the blend of creativity, cooperation, and gentle guidance, leaving him in a state of contemplation and respect, the rigid structure of authority yielding to the quiet power of empathy and understanding. Imani transitioned to a final reflection, guiding the twins to summarize what they had learned and discovered, their verbal responses growing in clarity and depth, their gestures confident, their focus unbroken, the space alive with soft, productive energy. The twins' laughter, conversation, and creative output continued in a seamless rhythm, their engagement sustained, and Charles observed the room with a sense of awe, realizing that the atmosphere, energy, and growth he had witnessed was the direct result of Imani's consistent, thoughtful, and empathetic guidance, leaving an indelible impression of the quiet but transformative power of structured, patient mentorship. The soft glow of the lamps deepened as the evening progressed, casting long, warm shadows across the polished floors and the carefully arranged play areas. Imani Brooks guided Lucas and Mason to a small reading corner, cushions scattered around a low table, storybooks open and ready for the final activity of the day. Her voice carried steadily, weaving narrative and instruction, encouraging the twins to describe their favorite moments, reflect on choices they had made, and connect their experiences to the stories they read. Lucas leaned forward, eyes wide with concentration, pointing at illustrations and explaining what he saw, while Mason mirrored his enthusiasm, adding his own observations and questions. Charles Whitman remained quietly near the doorway, arms crossed but relaxed, his expression a mixture of curiosity and contemplation as he absorbed every detail, noting the subtle shifts in the twins' engagement, the confidence growing in their gestures, and the attentiveness in their voices. Imani moved seamlessly between listening, prompting, and suggesting, her hands occasionally demonstrating actions or emphasizing concepts, her eyes scanning for understanding, making small adjustments that ensured both twins remained focused and encouraged. The room seemed to resonate with a gentle rhythm, the scratch of pencil on paper, the soft murmur of discussion, and occasional laughter forming a harmonious flow of energy, productive and calm. Imani prompted the twins to make connections between the stories and their own experiences, asking them to predict outcomes, imagine alternative endings, and consider how characters felt in different situations, cultivating empathy, reasoning, and imagination. The twins responded with thoughtful insights, offering tentative ideas that grew in confidence with gentle affirmation, their interactions smooth, collaborative, and cooperative, reflecting the trust and comfort they had developed throughout the day. Charles observed the transformation, his posture softening further, the rigidity of his authority replaced by a reflective understanding, noting that the twins' engagement and learning were direct results of Imani's calm presence, structured guidance, and intuitive attention to their needs. Imani then introduced a final creative exercise, prompting the twins to illustrate a sequence from their day, narrating their process as they worked, reinforcing memory, language skills, and self-expression, while allowing autonomy and choice within the activity. Lucas and Mason worked together, discussing ideas, negotiating space, and making small decisions collaboratively, their soft laughter and whispered communication weaving a fabric of harmony in the room. Imani encouraged them to explain their work aloud, prompting descriptive language, reflection, and storytelling, reinforcing cognitive and social skills, while her presence ensured a safe and supportive environment. Charles, quietly observing, felt a sense of revelation, realizing how subtly yet profoundly influence could be exercised through empathy, patience, and consistent attention rather than command, wealth, or authority. The twins' focus and cooperation continued to deepen, their energy now a gentle, productive hum, punctuated by moments of pride and mutual acknowledgement, their confidence and engagement a testament to the methodical care and guidance they received. Imani moved among them with graceful attentiveness, adjusting prompts, demonstrating gently, and providing verbal cues, balancing independence and structure, allowing the children to experience mastery and accomplishment. Charles's gaze lingered on the scene, noting the delicate interplay of encouragement, observation, and guidance, the way small interventions produced profound results, shaping behavior, thought, and emotional growth. The soft light accentuated the room's organization, the colors of the blocks, pencils, and storybooks reflecting the careful orchestration of the environment, while the twins' voices, laughter, and discussion created a natural rhythm of engagement that filled the space with quiet, harmonious energy. Imani guided the final moments with subtle prompts for reflection and self-expression, encouraging the twins to summarize lessons, articulate feelings, and identify what they had enjoyed most, cultivating introspection and confidence. Charles exhaled slowly, the weight of his prior assumptions and rigid expectations easing as he recognized the effectiveness and depth of Imani's approach, understanding that true guidance and influence were measured not by control but by patience, empathy, and structured attention, leaving the room transformed in atmosphere, energy, and understanding, and leaving him with an enduring awareness of the quiet, powerful impact of thoughtful mentorship. The evening had deepened into a rich indigo, the last remnants of sunlight slipping away and leaving the room illuminated by the soft glow of strategically placed lamps that reflected off polished floors and the neatly arranged blocks, books, and art supplies. Imani Brooks guided Lucas and Mason toward a low table, the cushions arranged carefully around it, and laid out a selection of storybooks, each one open to a page designed to spark conversation, reflection, and imagination. Her voice, calm and steady, invited the twins to describe the events they had enjoyed most, to discuss the lessons they had learned throughout the day, and to express their thoughts about the characters and scenarios, prompting thoughtful reflection and verbal articulation. Lucas leaned forward, pointing to pictures and recounting details in his own words, while Mason followed, adding observations and questions with quiet enthusiasm. Charles Whitman remained near the doorway, arms relaxed at his sides, his eyes scanning the room as he observed the interactions, noting how the twins' focus and confidence had grown from morning chaos to an almost effortless engagement. Imani shifted subtly, encouraging the twins to link their observations to feelings and decision-making, prompting them to consider why characters acted in certain ways and what they might have done differently, fostering empathy and reasoning. The twins responded with excitement and curiosity, their voices rising and falling with thoughtful inflection, their hands gesturing toward illustrations and blocks as they communicated ideas, their laughter and murmurs blending harmoniously with the quiet ambience of the room. Charles exhaled slowly, the rigid control he had held throughout the day giving way to reflection and respect as he witnessed the profound impact of patience, observation, and structured guidance. Imani introduced a collaborative activity, guiding the twins to create a final imaginative scene using blocks, drawings, and storytelling, encouraging cooperation, negotiation, and shared decision-making. The twins leaned into the activity, exchanging ideas, adjusting their plans, and celebrating small victories, their soft laughter and verbal interactions forming a rhythmic, productive energy that enveloped the room. Imani moved fluidly between guiding, observing, and prompting, her hands occasionally demonstrating, her voice directing without commanding, and her presence providing a calm and steady anchor for the children's engagement. Charles noticed the transformation, the shift in atmosphere from earlier tension to focused creativity and mutual respect, and he realized that true influence came from thoughtful presence, patience, and empathetic guidance rather than command or authority. Imani encouraged reflection as the final part of the activity, asking the twins to explain what they had built, what they had learned, and how they felt about their accomplishments, prompting introspection, communication, and confidence. The twins responded with pride and clarity, describing their work, articulating their insights, and acknowledging each other's contributions, their soft voices filling the room with an understated but vibrant rhythm. Charles observed quietly, the depth of the transformation settling into his awareness, the room now alive with productive energy, mutual respect, and engaged learning, a testament to the power of structured, empathetic mentorship. Imani guided the twins to tidy up the space collaboratively, reinforcing responsibility and cooperation, each child taking part willingly, understanding the rhythm and flow of care and attention that had been modeled throughout the day. The polished floors reflected the soft lamplight as the twins moved with purpose, completing the tasks with smiles, their laughter occasional but genuine, harmonizing with the quiet calm established by Imani's presence. Charles exhaled again, quietly marveling at the subtle mastery of guidance he had witnessed, understanding how patience, structured attention, and gentle authority could transform not only behavior and focus, but also the perception of leadership, trust, and engagement. The twins, now seated comfortably, shared one final reflection with Imani, their words thoughtful, expressive, and confident, the room enveloped in calm energy that spoke to both achievement and connection. Imani's eyes scanned them briefly, her hands resting gently on the cushions, her posture relaxed yet attentive, as the twins articulated their experiences, reinforcing the lessons of cooperation, reflection, and trust. Charles stood quietly, absorbing the full impact, the polished floor, the soft lighting, and the gentle rhythm of the twins' engagement, leaving an enduring impression of the transformative power of thoughtful mentorship, empathy, and calm, structured guidance. The atmosphere charged with a sense of quiet accomplishment and a lasting awareness of what intentional care and presence could achieve. The room had fallen into a quiet, gentle hush, the soft glow of the lamps reflecting on polished floors and wooden furniture, casting warm light across the twins' scattered projects and the neatly arranged cushions. Imani Brooks guided Lucas and Mason to a small, open space near the window where the evening light still lingered faintly, creating a serene backdrop for reflection and closure. Her voice, calm, steady, and precise, invited the twins to consider what they had accomplished, what they had learned, and how their confidence and cooperation had grown throughout the day, prompting introspection and self-awareness. Lucas leaned forward, eyes bright, articulating his favorite moments and sharing what he had discovered about teamwork, patience, and focus, while Mason mirrored his enthusiasm, adding details about how he had overcome small frustrations and celebrated successes. Charles Whitman observed from a quiet distance. The crease in his brow softened, his arms relaxed at his sides as he absorbed the scene, noticing the subtle transformation in both energy and perception within the room. Imani encouraged the twins to explain how their interactions with each other had changed, prompting dialogue about cooperation, listening, and mutual respect, fostering social awareness alongside cognitive reflection. The twins spoke with increasing confidence, gesturing toward their projects, describing sequences of tasks they had completed, and recognizing their own growth in attention, focus, and creativity, while Imani offered gentle affirmations that reinforced achievement without overshadowing their autonomy. Charles stepped slightly closer, his polished shoes quiet against the floor, his gaze tracing the calm precision of Imani's guidance and the twins' confident responses, absorbing how the room's atmosphere had evolved from chaos and tension to harmony, focus, and thoughtful engagement. Imani shifted attention to a final collaborative activity, prompting Lucas and Mason to create a shared narrative using their drawings and blocks, weaving together imagination, reflection, and problem-solving into a single cohesive story, encouraging discussion, negotiation, and cooperation while maintaining calm structure and focus. The twins responded eagerly, exchanging ideas, adjusting plans, and celebrating small successes, their laughter soft and harmonious, punctuating the gentle rhythm of the evening, while Charles quietly marveled at the subtle authority, patience, and guidance that orchestrated such profound engagement. Imani moved among them, observing, prompting, and demonstrating, her presence steady and unobtrusive, reinforcing confidence, fostering creativity, and maintaining the balance between autonomy and structured attention. The room resonated with the soft hum of activity, the twins' voices, laughter, and collaborative discussion blending with the ambient quiet, the polished floors reflecting the warm lamplight and the colors of their projects, creating an atmosphere of calm achievement. Charles exhaled slowly, recognizing the magnitude of the transformation, how understanding, empathy, and consistent, thoughtful guidance had reshaped behavior, engagement, and the perception of authority in the room. Imani prompted a final reflection, asking the twins to share one takeaway from the day, encouraging articulation of lessons, personal growth, and gratitude, which they expressed with clarity and sincerity, their voices confident and steady, hands gesturing naturally to illustrate points. The twins' interactions were seamless, cooperative, and joyful, each small achievement acknowledged by gentle reinforcement, the room alive with focused energy and calm satisfaction, a testament to the effectiveness of intentional, empathetic mentorship. Charles remained quietly observing, feeling the impact of Amani's method, the subtlety and depth of guidance, and the quiet power of structured attention, patience, and empathy in shaping confidence, cooperation, and growth. As the evening drew to a close, the room held an atmosphere of calm accomplishment, warmth, and quiet reflection. The twins settled comfortably on cushions, their expressions bright and proud, while Charles absorbed the profound lessons of the day, understanding that influence and authority could manifest not through command or wealth, but through patient observation, empathetic engagement, and thoughtful guidance, leaving a lasting impression of transformation, trust, and possibility that would extend far beyond the confines of this room, a subtle and enduring reminder of the power of understanding and the quiet strength of human connection.